today on Carolina Week.
It's one of those clubs where you can visually see the impact that you're making.
The government hit the 1-month mark of the shutdown. UNC's student organizations are helping to feed Tar Heels in need.
Houses are getting destroyed and people are dying, and again, no one's caring.
Jamaicans face an unprecedented hurricane. How college students on the island and here at UNC are dealing with the aftermath.
I was in a position to do something, and that being to flip that seat from Republican to Democrat.
A UNC professor is running for Congress in North Carolina. What he says he brings to the table coming up on Carolina Week.
From the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Carolina Week, I'm Mackenzie Acton.
And I'm Aaliyah Mitchell. We're starting today with breaking news. The United States has entered day 36 of the government shutdown, which breaks the American record for longest shutdown ever. This means that many government employees have not had a job in 5 weeks, and Americans are beginning to see the effects at home and in the grocery stores. More specifically, the shutdown is causing uncertainty for millions of Americans who rely on SNAP benefits, including families right here in Chapel Hill. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, helps more than 40 million Americans buy groceries, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. In a memo last month, the USDA warned it could not legally use its contingency fund to cover full November SNAP benefits. After 2 federal courts ordered action, the Trump administration agreed to tap into emergency funds to partially pay for November benefits, about half of the typical amount. Some states could take weeks to distribute these funds. And local nonprofits like Interfaith Council for Social Service, or IFC, say they're seeing more people turn to their food pantry as more families worry about putting food on the table. IFC Food Bank Director Kristen Laverne says staff are feeling some of the effects firsthand.
Some staff are directly impacted, receive SNAP themselves or people in their families, maybe beneficiaries. So certainly they're stressed on a personal level.
IFC is trying to stay prepared, but if full federal funding does not return soon, local food support will become even more crucial. Community donations and volunteers are helping families battle food insecurity as the shutdown continues.
Food insecurity is continuing to affect both students and staff here on campus, but one student-led pantry is working hard to make sure no Tar Heel goes hungry. Inside the Carolina Cupboard Pantry, all UNC students and staff can find everything from canned vegetables to frozen meals for free. This fall, Carolina Cupboard found itself an unlikely partner, bees. President of the Carolina Beekeeping Club, Nathan Halsey, reached out about making a sweet deal. The club maintains 3 hives and about 60,000 bees, producing over 200 pounds of honey this season. And all of it is going to help fight hunger on campus. With food insecurity and changes to SNAP benefits, the club decided to bottle and sell the honey to UNC students. All proceeds will go to Carolina Cupboard.
We hope to do over 1,000 pounds next year. So we're really excited to kind of scale the impact, and help as many students here on campus as possible.
Carolina beekeepers will be selling their honey in the pit on November 17th for $10 a bottle. So grab a jar of honey and know that your sweet treat is helping a Tar Heel in need. Yesterday was voting day, and the Triangle voted in local elections, and our own Emma Kane has the results.
Yesterday, Louis Rivers and Wes McMahon were able to drop candidate and are now officially elected officials. Yesterday, here at First Baptist Church, one of the polling sites for Chapel Hill residents were able to vote on city council, school board, and mayor. Now newcomers Louis Rivers and Wes McMahon will be joining incumbents Camille Berry and Paris Miller Foshee as the 4 elected to city council. Now for mayor, we have Jess Anderson, who ran unopposed in this election and was re-elected to be Chapel Hill's mayor yesterday. She will be sworn in with the 4 candidates for city council in December. Durham also voted on their mayor, but that's a slightly different story. Leo Williams, the incumbent, ran against challenger Anjanae Bell and won by 8% of the votes. Yesterday, he announced his win at about 10 p.m. at one of his restaurants, which hosted his watch party. Williams explained his first 3 action items are addressing crime by using what he calls holistic empathetic assistance response teams, or HART, creating housing to help prevent homelessness, and putting into place economic development plans that include a convention center that he said would help bring more sales tax to Durham and lower property taxes for Durham residents.
So if you want to keep taxes down, you have to expand the tax base. What does that mean? You have to have more housing. To have more housing is called what? The big D word, development.
In talking with Mayor Williams yesterday, he said that Durham County, D.C. needs to be the example for Washington, D.C., and that no matter who was elected to city council, he was going to work with them because Durham needs to take action. He will be sworn in to be Durham's mayor for his 2nd term in December.
And in national elections, Democrats saw major victories from candidates and on policies. 34-year-old Zoran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, won the New York City mayoral race, beating former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. The Democrats also won the governor's race, with Abigail Spanberger winning in Virginia and Mickey Sherrill winning in New Jersey. In California, Gavin Newsom's redistricting map passed as well. The new map could add up to 5 Democratic seats in Congress during the 2026 election cycle.
We can de facto end Donald Trump's presidency as we know it the minute Speaker Jeffries gets sworn in as Speaker of the House of Representatives.
President Donald Trump responded to the Democratic victories last night in a Truth Social post saying, quote, "Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdowns were the 2 reasons Republicans lost."
The election for the 11th district seat is next November, and according to Paul Maddox, there's a cancer running through Washington, and he is running to cure it. UNC Chapel Hill biology professor and cancer researcher Paul Maddox announced his run for Congress, specifically Chuck Edwards' seat in North Carolina's 11th district. In the spring, a large part of Maddox's federal funding from the Department of Energy was cut. He realized something needed to change. One of the main issues Maddox is focused on is drug discovery. He believes his scientific background gives him a leg up in the congressional race, and promoting the enhancement of drug discovery is something very few others are worried about.
I can explain an mRNA vaccine. I can talk to you about artificial intelligence and how that affects drug discovery or something. Not that other people can't. It's just that's what I bring to the table. I bring a different skill set to the table.
Family members and politicians are mourning the life of former Vice President Dick Cheney, who passed away Tuesday morning. Cheney most notably served as vice president for George W. Bush from 2001 to 2009, after Bush had originally hired Cheney to help him find a running mate. Cheney wound up on the ticket with Bush. Cheney also worked for George H.W. Bush as Secretary of Defense after serving as White House Chief of Staff and the only House member from the state of Wyoming. Cheney passed away at 84 years old, surrounded by his wife Linnie and his daughters Mary and former Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
Now coming up on Carolina Week. A look at how Hurricane Melissa is impacting UNC students.
And an update on the United States taking military action against Venezuelan boats.
I've been absolutely craving this simple yet addictive recipe. I start with flour, sugar, and my smoothest vegetable glycerin. I whisk a bit, then I add some generous pumps of cleaner for its volatile organic compounds and some spritz of propylene glycol for extra sweetness. After mashing the dough, I choose my favorite food-grade flavoring and watch my creation come to life. Once it's smooth, I fold in my sharpest micro metals, making sure they spread into every crevice. Next, my tobacco. more mixing, and finally my secret ingredient, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons made from burning coal, gas, oil, and wood. Into the oven, and voila. It hits every time.
Welcome back to Carolina Week.
And we're back with news on Jamaica. Hurricane Melissa tore through the island and other parts of the Caribbean last week, leaving homes destroyed. And for one UNC student, the devastation hit close to home.
Pictures that I took while I was there.
So much has changed since she last visited the island, all so quickly, in a matter of hours.
You feel like you can barely even give time for it, but also it's like all you're thinking about at the same time.
Mickey Beery's family in Jamaica lost power when Hurricane Melissa struck the island. Days later, she finally heard from her family.
Hello. My cousin was actually able to get some self-service, like climbing to the top of the house, and so he sent a video to my mom and my dad.
The Category 5 hurricane ripped across Jamaica and other parts of the Caribbean, destroying entire communities. Jamaican government officials say at least 30 lives were lost.
The devastation is a lot. A lot of places were destroyed.
1 week later, college student Robin Williams spoke to us from Jamaica, where fallen trees surrounded her school.
We not even know if there's going to be a Jamaica after this, you know.
She says she's still waiting to hear from one of her friends on the other side of the island.
I'm not assuming the worst, you know. I'm kind of trying to keep a positive mind that she's okay.
1,200 miles away at UNC Chapel Hill, Beery says what hurts most is how little she hears her peers talking about the storm.
This is the second time in like 2 or 3 years that they've been hit with this huge hurricane, and houses are getting destroyed and people are dying, and again, no one's caring.
She's talking about Hurricane Beryl that hit Jamaica last summer. That frustration and disappointment remain, and yet she also feels hope.
They're already starting the rebuilding process. They're right now working themselves, and then they'll probably get more people as the area clears up.
The recovery for the island and its people will not only take time, it will take support and strength.
I think we did a good job in supporting each other, and we're continuing to do a good job in supporting.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Aaliyah Mitchell, Carolina Week. Robin Williams is actually a student at the University of West Indies in Jamaica, and the government of Jamaica is seeking support for damages to help the thousands impacted at support.jamaica.gov.gm.
The Trump administration is providing $24 million in emergency assistance to countries hit by Hurricane Melissa. That breaks down to $12 million in assistance for Jamaica, $8.5 million for Haiti, $3 million for Cuba, and $500,000 for the Bahamas. The funding will be used for water, housing, food, sanitation, and emergency health care. The U.S. expects to announce additional assistance packages in the coming days after personnel on the ground further assesses the damage. Speaking of Hurricane Melissa, our very own Megan Giller is in the studio for the weather report. Megan, how did that hurricane pass?
Like Mackenzie and Aaliyah were saying, Hurricane Melissa caused horrible impacts for the Caribbean islands. What you'll notice here is I have a map of Hurricane Melissa's path as it headed into the Caribbean islands. What you'll notice is there's very small, lightly colored dots as we move into the Gulf. Once we get to the Gulf, everything's sort of clustered together and everything is changing colors. That's showing you the hurricane starting to ramp up. That is just because as the waters were warming when you start to get to the Gulf, that's going to start to speed up a hurricane, as well as there was lots of wind up above that was just really soft and light, and that can help make more stability for that hurricane. You'll notice as it moves over the islands, it starts to dissipate back into those lighter colors. That's just because there's cooler waters as you head out towards the Atlantic. But moving back here into North Carolina, we're looking at temperatures within the upper 60s as you're headed towards class, and temperatures peaking around 73 today at 3 p.m. We'll go back down into the mid-60s by 6 p.m., and that's just because we've been seeing this beautiful, lovely high-pressure system sitting out over the Atlantic right now. That's what's bringing us this sunny, beautiful weather. As we move into Thursday, you'll notice that that cold front that was sitting here has moved over North Carolina. That's going to bring temperatures down just a little bit on Thursday, but we're still seeing that high-pressure system, so it's going to be beautiful, but a little chillier. As we move into Friday, you'll see still that high pressure system, but you'll notice a little bit of rain starting to move in. That's not going to hit us until Sunday. But as we move into Saturday, take a look. You'll see that cold front coming through with that little bit of rain behind it. Moving into Sunday, we'll see some light rain up here in our area. It could be pretty spotty, pretty scattered, but it's going to be a pretty lovely week into the weekend overall. Looking at the big picture here, we're seeing temperatures in the lower 70s as we head into Wednesday. On Thursday, temperatures will drop a little bit as that cold front comes through into the mid-60s. Moving into the weekend, that high pressure system is going to warm us right back up. We'll see temperatures in the upper 60s, maybe even reaching the mid-70s by Saturday. And then on Sunday, we could see a little bit of rain, but it should be pretty light with temperatures in the lower 70s.
Thank you, Megan, for the weather update. And we have a viewer warning here. The video you are about to see is graphic and could be upsetting. In the last 2 weeks, the Trump administration struck 4 more boats in its growing campaign against alleged drug smuggling. The administration most recently took down another boat in the eastern Pacific Ocean last Wednesday. According to Secretary of State Defense Pete Hegseth, 4 people died in last week's strike, bringing the death toll for the series of attacks to at least 61. In an interview with NPR, Brian, a former legal advisor for the State Department, questioned the legality of the strikes, saying the military is not authorized to launch targeted attacks against civilians. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth wrote in an X post that, quote, the vessel was known by U.S. intelligence to be involved in illicit narcotics smuggling. The Trump administration has not yet provided public evidence confirming that the people on the boat were cartel members and that the boats were transporting drugs.
Latinas still earn the lowest wages of any racial or ethnic group in the country. According to UCLA's Latino Policy and Politics Institute, the number of Latinas with a bachelor's degree or higher has more than doubled over the last 2 decades. And yet, the persistent wage gap remains in the U.S. White men with a bachelor's degree make a median wage of $28 an hour. Latinas make less than Latinos and white women. Latinas with the same education level earn 15 less than white men, only earning a median of $28 an hour. We spoke to an economist who could see a change in the pay gap eventually.
The fact that they are now getting much more education at a rate that's fairly commensurate with other race groups in the United States and ethnicity groups means not only are they starting closer to the mark, but we should expect over time that that big gap for older Latinas is going to diminish.
On a lighter note, we have analyst Ellie Bowman from Sports Extra. Can you about what's going on next with UNC Sports?
Well, it's an exciting week for UNC Athletics, and after the break, I'll be here to tell you a little bit more about what's going on.
Welcome back to Carolina Week.
Why don't we just toss it over to Ellie to hear more about Carolina sports?
The Tar Heels tipped off their first regular season game on Monday when they took on Central Arkansas at home. Big man freshman Caleb Wilson made his presence known early with back-to-back-to-back dunks in less than a minute. Shortly after, Luka Bogovets made his debut with the Heels ultimately racking up 10 points. Point guard Kyan Evans would close out the Heels' 18-point run in the first half with a nasty shot from behind the arc. Stretching the lead 39-13, a standout moment came in the second half when a block by Henry Vasar allowed Jaden Young to hurl the ball to Seth Trimble, who slyly whipped it around his back and tossed it to Wilson to knock it down. Vasar would earn his first ever collegiate double-double and help the Tar Heels secure a victory 94-54. On Friday, the Tar Heels faced Kansas Jayhawks in a high-profile non-conference matchup at the Dean Smith Center. UNC enters the game coming off that strong win against Central Arkansas, when the Tar Heels showed off their depth and ball movement. The mostly new roster is led by senior guard Seth Trimble and freshman forward Caleb Wilson. Transfer Kyan Evans adds scoring and pace to the backcourt, while forward Jaron Stevenson brings length and energy. Kansas also comes in with momentum after beating the Green Bay Phoenix on Tuesday, showcasing their balanced attack. Sophomore Flory Bidunga dominated inside, while newcomer Darren Peterson added scoring and speed on the perimeter. And returning senior Jaden Dawson brings veteran experience to the backcourt. Tip-off is Friday at 7. The women tipped off their season in Carmichael Arena, and they wasted no time setting the tone against NC Central. North Carolina came out strong on both ends of the floor, jumping out to an early lead and never looking back. Elena Arnasalo ran the show in the first half, dropping 13 points, while Nyla Brooks made her presence felt in the second half with 15 points. Women's basketball defense turned up the pressure, forcing turnovers and turning them into easy transition points. It's a statement start for UNC, taking down NC Central 90-42 to open the season up with a dub.
Because there's a lot of jitters in the first game and you have lots of different lineups and you're not playing your other two lead guards. You don't want to grind E, so you've got people playing out of position, kind of all the things.
The Tar Heels play Elon Thursday at Carmichael. Number 1 ranked field hockey began their ACC title run against Louisville on Tuesday. The Tar Heels struck first in the second quarter, where Danny Mendez slid past Reese Annitzberger for a tap and goal. Louisville answered with a fast break goal in the third, setting the game on course for overtime. However, late in the fourth, Isabel Bohr converted a penalty shot for the game-winning goal. UNC outshot Louisville 20-2, but eked out a 2-1 win. The Heels take on Duke today at 1 p.m. in the ACC semifinals. Coming off their win against Syracuse, the football team returns to Kenan Stadium looking for another conference victory. All eyes are on these teams' quarterbacks to see who will prevail, with Stanford recently announcing their redshirt freshman Elijah Brown will get his first start of the season, and Gio Lopez at the helm for Tar Heels. Brown has been a quarterback only in relief of starter Ben Goldbertson throughout the season, but has completed 19 out of his 31 pass attempts for 218 yards and a touchdown. Lopez had a 79% completion rate and 2 passing touchdowns against Syracuse. Kickoff is this Saturday at 4:30. Carolina men's soccer is in South Bend, Indiana to take on Notre Dame in the first round of the ACC tournament. The Heels are at the 9 seed, Fighting Irish are at the 8. UNC enters this match on a 2-game losing streak, falling short against Syracuse and Duke. All eyes will be on Nacho Abial, who leads the team with 5 goals and 8 assists. Notre Dame is also coming off a loss after Wake Forest shut them out 3-0 to end their regular season. The winner of this matchup will travel to Charlottesville to face Virginia. UNC volleyball has racked up a plethora of honors following a massive performance this past weekend. After an upset victory against number 7 SMU and a close loss to number 4 Pitt, the Heels jumped up 6 spots to number 15 in the NCAA rankings. This is the first time UNC volleyball has reached a top 15 seed since 2017. Individually, middle blocker Lauren Shutter was named ACC Defensive Player of the Week with 13 blocks against Pitt, tying for the 3rd most blocks in a single match in program history. Setter Sienna Kaza was also named ACC Freshman of the Week with a combined 58 assists and 15 digs this weekend. Sports Extra will be back live at 11:30 Friday morning for a preview of another exciting weekend of Carolina athletics. Carolina Week will be back after the break.
Welcome back to Carolina Week.
The 1785 home Moorfields is a hidden local gem. Reporter Lindley Johnson takes us to that landmark and connects and educates generations.
This is more than a historic home in Hillsborough.
Well, it's nice but small, but then you walk into this room and the ceilings just give this grandeur.
It's a hub for UNC connections, past and present.
I think it was a combination of sale, gift.
Cecily Nisbet gives tours here every week, where she educates the community on the once home of Alfred Moore, a founder of UNC. The last owner, Edward Draper Savage,
I don't know, debonair.
was a French professor at UNC.
He discovered after he purchased it in 1949 that he was in fact connected, related by marriage to the Moore family. So in a sense, it went back to the family.
Moorfields is maintained as a wildlife refuge. The house is open for tours every Thursday. There is also historic landscape, nature, and bird walks available.
Since we have these strong connections with UNC and part of our mission is education, I do feel that it is really appropriate and good for us to help UNC students, and it's a win-win.
Cameron Hall is a student in the School of Information and Library Science at UNC.
One thing I wanted to do was track sort of like the family connections that he was having. So I have it like in a database, like SQL file, and plan on making like a relationship diagram, sort of like a family tree, but a bit more like intuitive of like what the relationships are.
Relationships that help tell the story of the history within these walls and the history of UNC Chapel Hill. I am Lindley Johnson reporting.
Moorfields is continuing its research to find those connections to UNC. It's just a 30-minute drive from campus to go visit and learn more about their mission. Celebrity star Shakira is coming back for Zootopia's sequel on November 26th. Shakira, whose voices the character Gazelle, released her new original song Zoo on October 10th, which will be part of the film's soundtrack. The sequel will introduce new characters and dive deeper into the animal society we first saw on screen nearly a decade ago, when the original movie hit theaters in 2016. I personally can't wait to watch it and enjoy some new Shakira music as well.
Clearly I can't either, and do not miss this. Today is National Donut Day. The popular pastry comes in all kinds of forms, whether frosted or filled or with sprinkles on top, and it's likely to be at your neighborhood donut shop. So Krispy Kreme was founded right here in North Carolina, and you can celebrate Donut Day by stopping by your local store and maybe bring a box for your favorite classmate or anchor, Mackenzie.
I sure hope so. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
And thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.